Hello. Oh, sorry. Clicked the wrong one. Welcome back to Green Devils, Ireland's newest Manchester United fan channel. Kind of a special live show today. Obviously, as you can see on the screen, I'm joined by a couple of good friends and fellow Man United supporters. Just here to talk about obviously the breaking news today that Erik Ten Hag has been sacked as Manchester United manager, and Ruud taken over as interim coach until a permanent replacement has been found. But yeah, look, let's get straight into it. Obviously, Sean, welcome to the channel. First time for VOT. How are you both doing?
Hey,
Shane, we'll start with you, I suppose. You're
yeah,
just to the side of me, so
happy to be here. Didn't think it would be under these circumstances, but here we are.
yeah. Shane, how about you?
Yeah, no, likewise. I planned to be on the channel, but I didn't think it was because of this. But it's like, yeah, no, yeah. It's like when you meet your family at a sad occasion. You're like, why can't it be under better circumstances? But such is life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look, I mean, look, I suppose we'll get into it fairly quick. Obviously, I think it's fair to say I don't think it's come off the back of yesterday's game. Um, like obviously it was a disappointing defeat away to West Ham, and I think the manner of the defeat as well. Me personally, I wouldn't have blamed Ten Hag for us losing that game. But I think it's an accumulation of the poor results over the last couple of months. Obviously, the start of the season. Look, he won the FA Cup at the end of last season, and I think rightly so. He was given more time, um, and at least given another season to see if we could perform better than we did last year. Look, obviously it wasn't meant to be, but yeah. Look, Sean, give us your thoughts on Ten Hag going.
Um, I think him going was inevitable. It's just the timing of it that's been strange.
Hmm.
Like, I personally thought that it was the right decision to keep him in the summer,
Yeah,
not just because of the FA Cup, but he'd done okay with us the last 2 years, and we've had this merry-go-round so often of managers getting two and a bit seasons and then rinse repeat. So I was like, right, let's try and see what can happen this time if we just give manager time. Looking at what Arteta's done at Arsenal, okay, he's not won a whole lot, but
hmm.
they've consistently gotten better kind of from kind of 3 years on in there. And I was like, right, let's give this a go and hope that's what happens. Um, but it was equally clear in the summer that Ineos didn't fancy him. And I'd say the only reason he stayed on was because for one reason or another, they couldn't get whoever they wanted in. And it was like, well, we may as well stick with him now. So, like, if they don't get rid of him in the summer, it should have been probably before the last international break. And it didn't come then either. So, why now is the strange thing. Um, it's just hard to know. But again, I think Jose got sacked in October, November. So did Ollie. It's just kind of the time of year for it.
Yeah,
Um, so it's just like it's another terrible day as a Man United fan because it's just rinse and repeat of everything that's happened over the last number of years. So it's just kind of hard to know where we go from here. And considering how it's happened, although they're not supposed to really have any impact on the football side of things anymore, you'd wonder, did the Glazers have any input here as well? Because
yeah,
it seems very Glazer style how this has happened.
yeah. Although then again, I mean, I think if you look at Nice, I think Ineos kind of have the form of once they're not happy with a manager, they're pretty cutthroat. Do you know what I mean? I mean, how many managers did they go through in the last couple of years at Nice? They've gone through quite a few, I think. I'm not sure off the top of my head how many, but yeah, look, they've gone through a few. But Shane, we bring you in. Give us uh,
Yeah,
give us your thoughts.
yeah, no, it's echoing a bit what Sean said. It's a sad day because you're like, you know, obviously the results weren't good enough. We're in 14th. You know what I mean? If you look at it from how the results have been, our form this season, and where we are, and the fact that we haven't won enough games, you can say, yeah, it's right that he's sacked. But when you look at the performances, okay, yes, the Spurs performance, like in theory, if you're going to get rid of him, that was the time to get rid of him, because it was akin to sort of like Ollie's last game versus Watford, where like literally the wheels had fallen off. But when you look at that West Ham game, it was a weird game to choose, because all the play was good, bar putting the ball in the net. And is it Ten Hag's fault that Dallas skies it over the bar and can't score an open goal? Like, now, I'm not saying that the manager should have gone. Like, based off the results, it didn't look like it was going to turn around, and look like they're bereft of confidence. So I can see why they did it. It's just, why this game and not the Spurs game or a different game? It just seemed like, you know what I mean? And as well, with that VAR decision as well, I'd say Ten Hag's fuming. He's like, why? Like, this dodgy decision basically could have cost me my job. But it's just sad, because like Sean said, it feels like rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Do you know what I mean? And I had so much hopes for this season, particularly with the signings. You're thinking Ineos has done a really good job. Proper signings. You're looking at De Ligt, you're looking at Mazraoui, proper players. And even on their debuts, like, he saw the way De Ligt played against Southampton. I know, obviously, you know, they weren't great for 30 minutes, but after that, like, towering headers, monster defending, Mazraoui is an absolute baller. And you're like, this seems like they have a bit of an idea what they're doing. Now they've sort of hemming and hawing about managers, and over the summer, it's sort of, it's not nice. And you're just like, where do we go from here? Because I don't know where we go from here.
Yeah, like, I mean, just touching on that, I know you both kind of touched on it, like that the timing of it is strange. Like, yes, the results haven't been there, but as you both kind of said, the performances, Spurs game aside, have been okay. Look, obviously, if you look at the results on their own, it hasn't been good enough. And like you said, the game yesterday, like, we should have been three up at halftime, and it's a completely different story. But I think with the timing of it, to me, it feels like the decision was made before yesterday's game, because after the whole fallout with the VAR, and even especially how they played in the first half, it seems like it was just they had picked that moment. Maybe they'd picked the bank holiday weekend or whatever, I don't know, but they just picked this weekend was going to be the weekend if they didn't win, regardless of how the game went. To me, that's what I think anyway, because as you both have said, the timing of it in isolation after that game, the timing of it is very, very strange. But I think it's a knock-on effect of the results over the previous weeks that it just this is the weekend where they chose to get rid of him. But I think, as you were saying, Shane, like with the signings that they made in the summer, like Mazraoui and De Ligt, my hope is that they were picked, like those players were signed regardless of that it was Ten Hag, it was the manager, and that the next manager that Ineos bring in, which, by the way, when Ineos took over, they literally changed everything. They changed every single position from the board down to the manager, except for the manager. So, and as you said, they went looking in the summer for their manager, didn't find him, so they said, look, we'll keep him for now. So now, obviously, they're going to get their man, whoever it's going to be. So now it will be interesting to see where we do go from here, because look, I mean, there's a couple of names after being floated around already. There's obviously Xavi was actually just on the Xavi thing. Did you see the post from his wife yesterday?
With their son wearing the United jersey.
Yeah, that's suspicious.
Yeah.
That's really suspicious. I find that so.
Yeah, well, like the conspiracy theorists straight away have said, like, oh well, surely that's a sign, like.
Well, he's meant to have a good relationship with Omar Barada, doesn't he?
Oh, does he?
That was said. Don't ask me what source it was, but apparently, I don't know. Was Omar Barada at Barcelona before he was at City or something?
I know TG, or what's your man, the head fellow, the director of football or something or whatever, Shigi, whatever, with that weird like Basque sounding name. He was he had the link at Barca with Pep, and then was at City, I think. Well, I'm not
Right.
sure about Brada, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, it is an interesting one though.
In 2004, he was appointed the marketing manager for Barcelona,
Okay.
and then started with Man City in 2011.
Right.
Hmm.
So there
Makes it
could
more.
possibly be a link there.
Let's just say they've met in the corridor before.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
They definitely were at the work party and definitely had a few gargles. Let's be honest.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, to me, it's probably a similar link along the lines of the Southgate link that was there a year ago, because he worked with um,
Dan Ashworth.
Dan Ashworth. Yeah, so like
Ugh.
I think the media and fans and everyone are going to find any kind of a link between someone on the board and any manager that's possibly available, and try and put two and two together and say like, oh yeah, this is their man. This is the one they're going to go after. So.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a strange one. Yeah, I might just get into some of the comments. There's a few people in the chat. Disco Stew, how are you? And there's Lee Shep from the Paddock FC members, and Stephen Harris, a few in there. I hope you're all well. Yeah, let us know in the chat, lads. If what do you make of Ten Hag being sacked today? Obviously, look, I think it's a shock. It's a shock, and it's not a shock, if that makes sense. The time, as we talked about, like the timing of it is a shock. I think it was inevitably going to happen at some stage, but Notch is in the chat as well. Up the Green Devils.
Gotta trust the notch to.
Yeah, but yeah, Flashburn 52. Funny timing when Howson has just done his UEFA badges. Yeah, that would be an interesting one. Could you imagine?
Yeah, he was.
Oh my God,
He
yeah.
was at the Welsh FA place yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was there all weekend, I think.
Yeah.
So
Now he's camping.
yeah, of all days to go camp,
Probably in a field beside Carrington.
overseeing training in the
Yeah,
morning.
yeah.
Yeah. Seeing if he can put his name in the hat.
Yeah.
The only club who he done paddock for.
Notch, unless they have someone already prepared that we're not privy to, then the timing is defo strange. Or they had given Erik a certain amount of time. Yeah, I think it's possible that they have someone lined up.
Yeah, that sounds like it. Sorry to cut across, but that I was like, surely they have to have someone lined up, because why would you choose now? Spurs would have been the better opportunity, or the international break, give you a week to sort things. But why now? International break isn't for another 2 or 3 weeks. Do you know what I mean? And we're playing in the League Cup there midweek. It just doesn't really make sense, unless I've seen now. I know it's obviously not a very reliable source, but Talksport have mentioned that Nagelsmann is open, but I don't know. I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them, but you never know.
Yeah, true. Let me see. Callum is in the chat. This has got Southgate written all over it, and I'd rather rip my toenails off than watch it under him. Yeah, I think everyone can agree on that it's not Southgate. He's just no.
Well, obviously the fans don't want Southgate, but if they have somebody lined up, is it him? Like, I don't want Southgate either.
Please no.
They couldn't get the manager they wanted in the summer.
Mm.
Southgate was still with England at the time. Just if it is Southgate.
But didn't Southgate come out and say that he wasn't going to manage for at least a year?
Yeah, but people say a lot.
Well, that's true. That's true. People say a lot of things.
I'm sure if a Walker contract got put in front of him.
Didn't Klopp say he was going to retire, and then he basically goes for the arch enemy and works for Red Bull, sullies his reputation for Dortmund, because he's working for Red Bull, who are the antithesis to like German football. So
yeah, it's true.
Well, plus, Jurgen Klopp did live in Ollie's house for a while.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if we got Klopp? Like, that would just seriously boil some Scouse piss, wouldn't it?
Oh my God, that'd be fantastic.
Just for that alone, I think it'd be worth at least
the tears
with an offer.
I don't know if I want that to happen though.
No.
I'm not sure. I don't think it would work.
No, probably not. No.
It might again. It would boil some piss for a while, but that's about all we get out of it.
Yeah.
Oh God, no! I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh at that, but shudder at the thought of Southgate. And you're like, why has no one touched Southgate since? And the way that they're like, we didn't get our man. I read in the Athletic this morning because they had a couple of articles come out, and obviously Karolinka clearly had his obituary ready to go. Karolinka. But anyways, I read, and basically, I'm not sure who was it him, Mark Critchley, or David Ornstein? Basically said that it was a marriage of convenience, and they were basically staying in the marriage together for the kids because really, let's be honest, Sir Jim didn't want Ten Hag. Be honest, he didn't, and he just sort of had to keep him because he couldn't get the person who he wanted, or worried about the backlash that people be like, he just literally won us the FA Cup against all conquering Man City, So yeah, but I don't know. Just Southgate makes me worry. It's like this manager search better not turn into the FAI. Those who don't know the FAI, we can't be that. Please no.
JD Park and all that.
Oh,
But I think, like, I honestly don't see how anyone in football could look at Gareth Southgate and think that's the man I want managing my club. Like, first of all, we've seen how badly England played under him with the players that they have, and then you think the last job he had before England was Middlesbrough 15 years ago, and he got him relegated.
mm,
So
Yeah.
I don't see how anyone with a sane mind could look at him and think, yeah, that's the man I want managing my club.
The only reason they might want him is if they want a yes man.
yeah.
And I think if that's what they wanted, they would get that from him. But like we're at this stage now of we still want to trust Ineos because like they've not made any mistakes yet per se. They've not been there long enough for us to judge them well or badly. The jury is well and truly out still.
Yeah.
But if they do have somebody lined up, you would expect an announcement in no more than 2 or 3 days to say either, right, this is our guy, he's coming in now, or this is our guy and he's coming in at such and such a date in the future. But if Rude is in charge for, like, okay, there's the Leicester game on Wednesday and then Chelsea on Sunday. If there's no news before this day next week, then is that not evidence that they don't have anybody lined up?
Yeah. It's a strange one because, like, if he just decided, look, he has to go, and you put Rude in charge in the interim, he's still the one on the training pitch implementing the same tactics and the same setups that Erik Ten Hag would have been doing. So I don't see how we're suddenly going to get better now that Ten Hag just isn't there, because Rude is still would have been heavily involved in implementing his tactics. Now, unless Rude has a little black book of tactics in his back pocket waiting to be pulled out, and suddenly he pulls, like, do you know what I mean? Suddenly he pulls out a masterclass.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a strange one. Like as you said, they must have someone.
Yeah.
lined up.
Like, none of us know Erik Ten Hag on a personal level, so it's hard to know what he's like. But he strikes me as the kind that would be quite controlling. I think he would be saying to Rude, "You are doing X, Y, and Z today,
Yeah,
and that's it." And Rude would be like, "Yes, boss," and goes out and does it.
yeah. That's
So,
yeah.
Again, I could be completely wrong there, but that's just the character.
No,
that
look,
Ten Hag
it's a fair
strikes me
point
as.
because I mean, like, Rude was a manager himself, and he did okay. So he probably has his own ideas that he probably had to put aside. You know what I mean, and kind of work on what Erik Ten Hag wanted to work on. So
Like, I think when Rude came in first, the thing that we were kind of almost excited about first was like, oh, he'll get to work with the forwards now and improve them. And I think we've seen bits and pieces of that. I think, like, okay, Hoyland's not played a whole lot this season, but he's looked a little bit better. He's okay. The end product hasn't been there, but he's getting into positions a little bit better now as well. So maybe there's been a small bit of something's rubbed off on him already there.
yeah,
But yeah, let's just hope he has his own little black book in his back pocket, as you were saying.
yeah,
Let's hope. I really hope, because it feels like we need to, like, obviously we need to pick up wins and stuff. But as you said, Brian, if it's the same people there, but you only got rid of Ten Hag, I don't think that Ten Hag would have been happy to bring Rude in if there wasn't a similarity or an overlap in terms of tactics or tactical outlook or the way or style of play. There would have to be an overlap. Otherwise, why would you bring in someone completely contrary? And also, like, just talking about the way you were saying Ten Hag is, just it struck me as that in a way, obviously, he has his faults and he's had some bad games. But to me, Ten Hag seems to have been the closest that we have got to sort of a way in Sir Alex, the way that he's dealt with some, like, big figureheads, like with their whole Ronaldo situation, the Sancho situation, and he's actually like dealt with them. Do you know what I mean? But dealt with them, like, in my opinion, dealt with them well, but hasn't sort of done a Mourinho and basically like corroded the whole sort of culture of the place. It seems like we finally had a manager who was not a yes man, willing to stand up to Ronaldo. Like, could you imagine if Southgate was there and Ronaldo picked up the thing? I love Ollie to bits, but he just wasn't strong enough to say no to Ronaldo. But Ten Hag was like, look, you're not doing the pressing, you're not doing the work that I need you to do. This ain't good. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to do what I want you to do, great. But if not, and it seems like the only man that we sort of had close to Sir Alex in terms of dealing with the off the field nonsense and all the nonsense that comes with it. He's the closest we've had, and I'm not sure if you're going to get anyone like him, because most managers nowadays are head coaches. Do you know what I mean? So they just do the coaching. They don't deal with all the other stuff. And it seemed like he had a bit of a handle on that. Now I could be wrong, but I'm not sure who we're going to get right now that's going to magically improve our strikers unless they have magic juice in them that, like, makes them score every touch they get. But,
Well, like, I think Ollie should certainly be on a list somewhere.
the vibes.
I don't think I don't think he should be ruled out completely.
No.
Because like if Ineos were in charge at the time when Ronaldo was brought in, I don't think Ronaldo would have come in at all. Like, that it just wouldn't have happened. Like, I know we all lost our minds that day and we're convinced, right, we've won the lot. It's all happening now. But in reality, it shouldn't have happened.
But Ali said himself he didn't really want him, so he didn't. It was literally the club just stopped him from going to City.
Yeah.
It's the only reason behind him.
And I think that was kind of, it wasn't the only thing that kind of ruined it for Ollie in the end, but it was probably the main point. Was the whole, like, Ollie was building something really good, and the style of play was really, really good.
Yeah, it was.
And then Ronaldo,
that first game against Leeds, we battered them. We looked like we were going to go places, and you brought Ronaldo in, and it threw the whole thing out of kilter. Like bringing in Mbappe has thrown Real Madrid all out of kilter. They just don't look the same team because you have not very hard-working, very like luxury players, I like to call it, but whether it be a Ronaldo or a Mbappe or a Neymar or a Mesut Ozil, a luxury player, won't do the work for you, can provide you with magic, great player, but just not in the team. Everyone else was working hard, but they weren't, and then no.
But that's me. I think the players, for most part, were working hard under Ollie, and I think they were buying into what he wanted to do. And I'd say the biggest issue with the players in the end with Ollie was that they just weren't happy that the persistence with playing Ronaldo. And now, like, I'd say, again, based off the fact that Ollie didn't want them, I'd say Ollie was being told from above, you have to play him, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it largely wasn't his decision. Okay, maybe he wasn't strong enough to make that decision, but I think there's certain decisions from back then that he wouldn't even have to make now on different things. So I think if he were to come in, he'd be coming into a much better environment again to what he left. He could just focus on the football, and a lot of the other stuff that he maybe had to do back then is just out of his hands now. And we've definitely got a much better squad than the squad that he was left with at the end.
Yeah. Do you think player power is still a thing in the United dressing room?
Yes.
Since Ten Hag came in. Yeah.
Yes. It's always going to be there, because unless you literally bring in a whole team full of like I think maybe your Mazraoui, I'd say your brand new players that have come in, maybe Mazraoui, you wouldn't have that. I don't think he seems like the type that would have much, but all the others would have egos unless you bring in a whole academy team. Do you know what I mean? Who literally have not proven at that level, so they wouldn't have an ego. You're always going to have player power to an extent. Just how much can you keep it under wraps? Do you know what I mean? Obviously, when we were like, when you had Roy Keane in charge, he literally didn't tolerate any of that shit. Do you know what I mean? So the thing is that there was player power, but you had the lead person everyone looked up to, and they, until obviously it all went sour, were happy to follow what the manager said. So I think you need a leader, someone who everyone's going to be like, yeah, they're the leader, who's going to follow the manager, and then your player power will diminish. We haven't really had that, and because we've changed captains. Like if you look at other clubs, they've had their captains. Like you look at Liverpool, their captain has been like Van Dijk. Do you know what I mean? And he's that type of he has that aura about him that people will do what he says. So he wouldn't have the same player power there. So it's like you need someone like that, and we don't have that. Like,
yeah, I think that Roy Keane statement from 5 years ago now has just come up again, like the whole don't change their spots thing. Because I don't think there's any player this season that can really say, I've been class, I've done great, I've tried my absolute best in every game. I don't think anybody can hold their hand up and say, I'm class with how this has gone.
Maybe Onana made some decent saves.
Yeah.
But like, bar that, all the outfield, the only player actually who could say, I've done fucking amazing, pardon my language, is Johnny Evans, because he's been rolling back the
Yeah.
However,
I forgot
and Eriksen to an extent.
Yeah, and Eriksen has picked it up the last few weeks, but bar Eriksen, who basically was clinically dead for however long, and Johnny Evans, who's 37.
Yeah.
Like, if no one else can say, I've, performed out of my skin, like, then, it's not a good look. And is that Ten Hag's fault? No, but obviously he will carry the can for it. But it just feels like all the players, bar the new ones who've been brought in, like, like De Ligt, a winner, Mazraoui, a winner, Those players. But we need to get rid of the deadwood, but we also need to as much as I hate to say it, there'll be a few players who we love, but we'll have to let go because it seems like they're common denominators with every single manager.
Like Harry Maguire, is
that? Harry Maguire, and you could even say to an extent maybe Rashford, because they're common denominators when things aren't going well. They're not the people who are there in your corner, you know what I mean, and they're not going to stand up and be counted when the going gets tough. And I'm not sure, are they long term? Like, it just seemed like previously when we were under Fergie and stuff, when it was all good, every player there would have stood up and be counted when the going got tough. But like, it doesn't seem that we have that many players that will. The only player that I've seen that actually is happy to stand up when the going gets tough has been Onana. When he had that interview when he said, oh, you know what I mean? The younger players, look, they make mistakes, it's okay, but I'm, one of the more experienced players. I'm here to take the bullets for them. But we haven't seen anyone else stand up and actually be willing to, take the fire, take the hits. Do you know what I mean? Everyone else has been sort of just like cowering away, and it's been a thing since, since Van Gaal has come in. There hasn't been any really accountability among players saying, look, we're not playing well enough. We need to get our act together and play properly. Because at the end of the day, a manager can, as I remember Steve said, a manager can give out tactic information, all that stuff. But if the players don't carry it out, what's the manager supposed to do?
Like on Johnny Evans though, like I did forget about him at times sometimes, because it's actually embarrassing that he's been one of our best players this season. And like, he got man of the match in that Villa game, and that Villa game was absolutely vile to watch.
Yeah,
like, it was so bad.
Yeah, it really was.
You're there at the end of the game and he's getting man of the match. It again on the player power thing. Like, how do the players think they have the right to have that power? In performances like that. And then, like, only a couple of weeks ago, I think Andy Mitten brought out a report about the conversations he had with a few unnamed players outside the dressing room after the FA Cup final, and the sentiment from I think he said it was 4 or 5 different players, and the sentiment from them all was more or less that, like, oh yeah, happy for Ten Hag to stay, but things must change. Well, like these players need to change as well.
Yeah, is the is the pot calling the kettle black? Like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Oh
but it is mad. Like you say, the thing about you were talking about Roy Keane there. Did you see his Instagram post earlier? No.
Yeah.
no,
What did he say in it again?
So it was literally just a selfie of himself. And then let's see if I can put it up on the
Oh,
screen. So
in,
he's obviously out for a walk, right?
yeah.
mm,
But underneath it, he wrote, "In good teams, coaches hold players accountable. In great teams, players hold players accountable."
yeah,
And I mean, look, obviously, I know that's a different. It's a different time and different era.
but still,
But
it
he's
rings
right.
true.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
if you don't have leaders in your team to actually make sure that the younger players are like following not orders, but like you know what I mean. The the big team, the big players, the leaders in the team should be setting the standards and making sure
mm,
that the younger players are meeting those standards at a minimum.
yeah,
And we don't have that. And like you said, it's completely embarrassing that Johnny Evans, who's 37, and Christian Eriksen, who died on a football pitch, have been
yeah,
probably our two best players this season so far. Like
yeah.
to me, that's like unacceptable,
It's
and
scandalous.
a
It's
lot of
honestly
those
scandalous.
players have to take a long hard look at themselves because
Yeah,
ultimately, yet again, you could argue the players have got another manager sacked. You know,
yeah. And it's just so sad, and it's like going back to what Roy Keane said. And so I hate to be if I'm hogging the whole thing, but it's like it's just so key what he said. Like it's you know who is there to sort of and like in a way I feel bad for Ten Hag. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, does
yeah,
he really want to lose all these games? Did he tell Dallo miss an open goal
yeah,
yesterday?
exactly.
No. And you're like, so what is he supposed to do if the players cannot put the ball in the back of the net, or the players literally just throw a stinker? He's not telling them to throw a stinker.
Mm.
And you know what I mean? He's obviously going to pay for it. But in a way, I'm going to miss him because it seemed like it's the first manager we've had that, in a way, seemed to have a bit of knowledge about tactics. I could be wrong, but it just seemed like, and the way that he was able to, like he dealt with things, a lot of things. And remember pre-season, not this season, previously. Remember when Garnacho first came out and Garnacho was late, and he punished Garnacho, and he was setting standards. Marcus Rashford went off and did things. He got punished. Remember one time Rashford, missed the bus or was late, and against Wolves, and then Rashford won it when he came on at half time, but he was dropped. Do you know what I mean? Because of that. So the thing is, Ten Hag has been trying to do that and hold players accountable. But the thing is, the players haven't been holding themselves accountable. And I just don't think, I don't see what manager is going to come in and make a drastic improvement unless you literally, because nowadays the really strict manager, I don't even think Sir Alex could come in and do something here because he doesn't have his Roy Keane there. Do you know what I mean? Or like his proper leaders there to do the bits for him. Do you know what I mean? There's no proper leaders there. There's good footballers, but there's no proper leaders. So I'm not sure what manager can do to fix it.
Mm. Yeah, like there's plenty of stories from the Alex Ferguson era of players having punch ups at half time in the dressing
Oh
rooms,
yeah,
and it often sorts things out. But
yeah,
I'm not saying players have to start punching each other all the time,
no,
but like
But they're
who?
doing everything they can to win. It's whatever it
Yeah,
takes to win.
yeah,
That's it. You
yeah, and
know.
it's like I know the game has changed completely with all the money that's in it now, and unfortunately, there is definitely some players out there that are just in it for the money. They have a bit of
hmm
talent, and they were able to get to a level where they could make a very very good living out of it.
mm,
And the desire just overall isn't there anymore. But it's about getting the right players that do have that desire. Because look at the Liverpool and Man City teams the last few years. I think most of the players in those squads did have that.
mm,
It was clear and obvious on the pitch, and
yeah,
the bits and pieces you'd see from off the pitch. And like I know City had a few different documentaries over the years where you could see stuff that was happening at half times, and there was a bit of that, players holding each other accountable.
yeah. I'd love to see what was going on during in the United dressing rooms during those times, and who was holding who accountable, if any, because I mean, it just feels like it's a constant cycle, and I mean, the players are getting the manager sacked, and like there's no proper leaders, it doesn't feel there's any proper leaders, accountability. And the thing is, the type of players that we literally need is, I know he's not been in great form this season and he got injured as well, but do you remember last season when he came back, and also in the first season as well, Lissandro Martinez, and he had an absolute terrier-like hunger about him. And as much as I hate him, Luis Suarez, he fucking, pardon me, fought for every single ball. Like, he was literally, like, his meal that day depended on it. And you need players who are willing to put in that. And as much as he, was a cannibal and a racist, he absolutely put his
Apart from that, he was a
life on
stand-up guy.
Sorry, I'm
but he,
laughing at the cannibal part, not the racist part.
Yeah.
yeah, but he's both. Let's be honest. He's done it more than once. I mean, if someone does something nasty to someone more than once, they're a bully, right? So he's a cannibal. Let's be honest. Hopefully he doesn't sue you for libel. But anyways,
Allegedly.
I'm sure he's one of the people tuned in watching right now.
But
I never know. Notch
players
my share to him.
Yeah, players like that who are willing to literally lay down and die. And do you remember in the Champions League semi-final in '99 when Roy Keane knew he was out, but the performance he put in that second, like even though he knew his yellow card put him out of the final, he literally did like it was the last game ever. And those players need to play like it's their last game ever. And we don't seem to really have that many players who are willing to do that. We have some players who can do it, but then you just have some players who just don't seem to have that hunger, that heart in them. And if you don't have that, I don't know what a manager can do if the players don't have the heart or are not motivated. Well, players shouldn't have to be motivated. You should, do you know what I mean? You're playing to win. Do you know what I mean? If you're winners, you win.
I think it's just years of buying the wrong type of players. Like obviously the Glazers, Woodward and Arnold, just buying the big name players because that's what sold the shirts, and that's what it was to them. You know what I mean? I think it's just years of just mismanagement at the club.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, in terms of where do we go from here? Obviously there's a couple of names that have to be mentioned already. Linked with the job. I know Nagelsmann is one. Ruben, is it Amarin? Is that how you pronounce his name?
I think is it.
At Sporting, he's one that's been linked. There's a couple others as well. I'm trying to think now.
Please tell me Southgate's not on that list.
Well, I haven't. I know I didn't. I didn't
he's
see
on the list.
Southgate's name earlier, but
Oh God.
I saw a list of was it 5 names? I think that they were discussing. It was Nagelsmann,
Xavi,
or Xavi, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Who would your pick be, Brian, if it was up to you?
Oh Jesus! Right now,
if it's a permanent appointment right now, who are you picking? Or if it's someone for the end of the season, what are you picking?
I think if it's someone till the end of the season, I'd leave Ruud there. Just to see, I know he's probably going to be in. Obviously, he's going to be in consideration as well, similar to the way Ollie was. Like he got it as an interim basis, and then obviously we played well, and he got it permanently then. So obviously, Ruud would have to be considered, but obviously he's going to need the time and the game time. In terms of a permanent manager, for me, probably Nagelsmann or Amarin. I think one of those two. I saw a report just before we came on that I think Amarin was asked about it, and he kind of laughed it off. He said, "Oh, I was expecting this question today." And I think Nagelsmann has apparently said that he'd be open to a move. So whether you'd trust those kind of reports, but yeah, look, I mean, I think Ineos have kind of said in the past since they came in that they're all about best in class. I think Notch actually mentioned it there earlier as well in a comment. It's a new setup at Ineos, and they insist on best in class. Let's see what happens in terms of manager and future players. Like, I think that's the most important thing, is that, like, obviously every fan will have their own preference of style of play or style of manager or whatever. For me, I think once we get the best manager that's available, now whether that manager is at another club or whether he's out of a job currently, I think if Ineos are serious about getting United back to the top where they want, then we have to go after the best manager that this new group of board members deem fit. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, a name doesn't mean anything to me, really. I think they just need to get the best available manager. Could you get Ancelotti?
I
Do you know
think
what I
he
mean?
has
Like,
to
I
be
mean,
good.
you know, I think isn't he out of contract at Madrid next summer as well? So I mean, it's a possibility, but
That could be gone in a few weeks.
Yeah,
probably,
he could be available. And that's no word of a lie. Like what position are Real Madrid in? They're not doing too hot either. And for Real Madrid, that's like cataclysmically bad.
I'll
Like
be honest, I thought he was going to be gone after the El Clasico there, but
yeah, 4-0, like losing 1-0 or 2-0, but losing 4-0 and getting annihilated in the Clasico, that is like a sackable offense in Madrid. And like, with the fact they brought in Mbappe and stuff. And
Madrid were at home as well, weren't they?
yeah, I think they were at home, I think.
yeah,
Yeah,
Madrid
they,
were at
they
home,
were because there was a report that Lamal was subject to racist abuse, and Vinny Jr. was like, "This is unacceptable," and do you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he gave him his support and stuff. But like, yeah, no. If you were to ask me of the list of the managers, I'd be like Brian, like Amorim or Nagelsmann. I think Amorim would be a bit of an unknown quantity because really he's made his name in Portugal. But Nagelsmann, like you'd know what you get, and I think he could have the structure. However, there's going to be clashes. Do you know what I mean? So there will be players who will be like, if they think Ten Hag's detailed instruction was bad, wait till they see Nagelsmann.
I think if it was up to me, I think it's between two people. If you want to go with vibes, it's obviously Ollie, and we've kind of discussed before. But
Ollie, I say okay.
but
Ollie's at the wheel.
equally, it's more than just vibes. I think he's actually a good manager and
Yeah,
deserves way more respect for what he did.
agreed.
And the other one, somebody who's at a club with Premier League experience currently, and I think you actually could get him, would be Thomas Frank at Brentford, eventually.
Yeah.
He's not done an unbelievable job, but like the style of play from Brentford can be good at times.
It feels like a Graham Potter thing, and I hate to. Thomas Frank's a great manager, don't get me wrong, but it feels like when you have these managers who are at mid-table clubs who don't expect to be winning titles or don't expect to be going deep in competitions, and they don't have like Europe every week. Do you know what I mean? They don't have a game every 2 or 3 weeks. They have plenty of time to get the tactics in. I just worry with Thomas Frank, it could be a Graham Potter thing. Now, he could be successful, but it could be a Graham Potter thing where, do you know what I mean? The demands of the United job, literally, and as I saw in another Athletic article, that it was starting to, like Ten Hag was starting to drown in it because it's just so much and it requires so much. And I'm not sure if Frank, he have the tactical knowledge, yes, but will he have the mental resilience to be able to hack it? Because your job security is in question every week. There's nonsense coming out in the press every week. But if you want my honest opinion, who I think we should get, like me, has to be Hansi Flick. And I'm telling you now, because what he did with that Barca team, and the fact is that he's very particular. He has good tactics, but he's very strict and particular. And he's basically like, you're either here or you're gone, and it's cutthroat. And he expects them to be professionals, and he doesn't treat them like kids. But the thing is, if they're not performing, out. And you saw what he did against Bayern. So he definitely has the pedigree, but he's not going to leave Barca, unfortunately.
I don't know, but I think Graham Potter went into Chelsea and there was an expectation straight away to win everything. You know, they'd signed 57 players or something, and expected them to win the league and the Champions League and everything within a year or two. I like if a manager, if any manager, regardless of who it is, comes in, I don't think they'll be expected to win the league or the Champions League within 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think the biggest example of, like Shane touched on there, like that Thomas Frank being kind of I was going to say mid-table, but Brentford are currently better than mid-table at the moment. But in terms of a manager coming from a lower than top 4 team, and making that step up to a top 4 team, like the biggest example of that not working is David Moyes.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? Like it's not always. Yes, they're doing fantastically well at a a mid-table club where they're not, like you said, they're not expected to get top four, they're not expected to win tournaments, but they perform to a certain level, then making that step up. Another example would be Roy Hodgson when he went to Liverpool.
Yeah.
You know, it. Look, as you said, sometimes it can work, but the majority of the times it doesn't. That's why I think, like, if Ineos are serious, they're not going to go for someone like Thomas Frank, in my opinion. Like, they're not going to go for Southgate. They're not going to go for Graham Potter. I think they'll go for someone who has, well, they should go for someone who has pedigree, who has a bit of a track record in winning tournaments, whether it's in European or domestic trophies. Like, so look, that I don't know. There's so many names out there, and it could be absolutely anyone.
May I just say that I would like to? I think we should cancel Ten Hag's sacking, and we go to Real Madrid and do a swap deal for Ancelotti. Both sides win. Putting it out there. Is it going to happen? Absolutely not. But hey, we'll take Ancelotti. He's prem experience, and he's a winner. And that eyebrow will do a lot of magic. Let's be honest. That eyebrow will do a lot more magic than Erik Ten Hag's bald head.
Isn't it mad to think that he managed Everton?
Yeah, I can't get over that. The fact he managed Everton.
Just the craziest appointment ever.
And that he apparently just lived in like a standard enough mid-terraced house in Bootle or something, apparently, as well.
If we want proper vibes, guys, we have to go with Bielsa. Could you imagine the insanity? It would be absolute carnage, but you know what I mean? Why not give it a
We already had that under Ten Hag.
Rock and roll.
But I mean in an attacking sense, when I know they were so porous at the back, but when you saw Leeds play sometimes you're like, this is immense. And the thing is, at least with Bielsa, you're getting an obsessive. Do you know what I mean?
Immense wouldn't be the word I'd use.
Oh god, but no, like
erratic maybe.
But it just feels like, you know, I think Ancelotti would be actually an option out there, but I have a feeling that they must sense that there must be either someone coming available or someone is available, because I don't think you would pull the trigger like that unless you really have someone there, unless you know you're going to get someone at the end of the season. But yeah, like, look, give it to Ruud, see how Ruud does. But yeah, and the thing is, going back to the Thomas Frank thing as well, it's just the only manager who's actually managed to make a step up from a mid-table team to a top four-ish team. Now, they haven't won anything, but they at least played well and did decent, would be Pochettino. When he went from Southampton, he would be the only example of a coach who made that step up. I can't think of anyone who made that step up. And actually, now, Spurs didn't win anything, granted, but they were up there, do you know what I mean? And they played decent football. And they were obviously, 90 minutes in Champions League final away from winning the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? So,
but like all these top managers, they have to come from somewhere.
Exactly.
You're like Jurgen Klopp went from Mainz to Dortmund to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Okay, Pep Guardiola was a bit different. That was I don't know, the doctor kind of had a big help with him there. And things like that. And like even Ferguson starting off at Aberdeen.
Yeah.
That was nobody knew who he was. Like even when he came into United, nobody really knew who he was.
No, and it took him ages to turn that ship around. And it felt like if Ten Hag could have turned that ship around, he could have been that guy. But I literally just saw a comment there, and it was from our man Gary, big up Gary. But anyways, he said that if Ten Hag wasn't sacked, he would be one of the biggest names on the market, managers market available now. And it wouldn't surprise me if he went somewhere, like let's say Company gets sacked at Bayern, or he goes to Ajax and he does absolute like bits and he's just cooks, and we're like, can we have that Ten Hag, please?
Yeah, I can see him going to Bayern next.
Yeah, because there was rumours of it in the summer. Now, I don't know, was that his agent just putting out stuff to basically put the pressure on United, but Company's not doing too well, and that Champions League defeat there to Barca is not a good look, and it's going to put the Company under severe pressure. And Bayern lately, they're not too keen on sticking around. They've put the axe to many good managers, so good reputation.
Bayern before as well.
I could see him going back to Ajax as another option as well. I don't think Ajax are doing too great either.
I think he could do that, but I think he might be kind of too proud to go back to Ajax. He might kind of consider it to be a step backwards,
Mm.
Maybe.
and I think he'll hold out for one of the bigger jobs to come up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think he'll just take the next job available. I think it's definitely. I think he'll be clever in where he goes next, especially when he made that comment a couple of weeks ago when he said, "If the board don't want me, I'll just go win trophies somewhere else because that's what I do." So to continue that, he's not just going to take a job at Ipswich or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
or,
Jose
the, or the
Mourinho might take
equivalent
a job at
in
Ipswich.
Netherlands. Uh-huh.
Jose Mourinho might take a job at Ipswich.
Yeah.
There we go. Kieran McKenna to United and Jose to Ipswich.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You've heard it here now first.
Oh, my God.
Would
Sorry.
you take
Just
Jose
got
back?
comment. Sorry.
Would I take
Stephen
Jose?
Harris in the comment there. Jesus Christ. That I'm not sure if that might be libellous by nature, but it's a hilarious comment.
Oh yeah.
I think in
By
one
Stephen
time-
Harris. Ajax went down quicker than Overmars' trousers.
Sorry to interrupt the
I
conversation. I
think
just thought it. I was like,
ship
that is class.
I think the ship has sailed with Jose somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, well has. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. He's just toxic. It took literally, like, you'd need, like, Ollie managed to get some semblance of, like, team unity back after basically Mourinho had, like, desecrated every single part of it.
I think we just need to go and check how much we have to pay in compensation to the Christians and under 14s. Is the next step here.
Yeah, look, I mean,
Get them a bag of balls or something.
Oh,
few
my
bibs.
God.
A bag of balls, a few bibs, and I don't know, a box of Lucozade or something. That should do the trick.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's interesting. It's going to be an interesting few weeks ahead, though. I mean, obviously, look, Ruud is going to be in charge, as you said, for the Leicester game in the Cup during the week, and then obviously Chelsea, and who knows how long after that. But yeah, look, we just have to keep an eye on the news for reports of who we're going to get. Obviously, look, there's a couple of names there that you'd be happy with if they came in. There's a couple there that you wouldn't, but yeah, look, I think we'll leave it there. We're on 50 something minutes now, but listen, lads, Shane, Sean, thanks very much for joining me.
No worries. Thanks for having us, Brian.
Yeah, no problem. We might do it again. We might do another one when the new manager is announced.
Sure. Yeah.
So, tomorrow, so.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks a million for joining us, and thanks to everyone in the comments. Sorry we didn't get through all the comments, but yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, we might do a preview for the Leicester game tomorrow, and might try and do a watch along, and hopefully you'll join us again. Yeah, like to smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thanks again everyone for watching, and thanks again to the lads for joining me, and yeah, take it easy. We see you later.